Before you continue reading, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories like this one. You won't believe what these bikers did next. Asterisk, asterisk. There was a time when respect meant something, when a man's word was his bond, and when strangers would help each other without asking for rewards. But today something shocking happened on a quiet highway outside Cleveland. A 9-year-old boy stood on the side of the road, tears streaming down his face. He held a crumpled piece of paper with an address written on it. In front of him sat 12 motorcycle riders, their leather jackets worn and weathered from years of riding together. The boy took a deep breath and asked a question that would change everything. "Will you kill my stepdad?" The lead biker, a man named Marcus, who was 63 years old with scars that told stories of a lifetime on the road, looked down at this small child. His hands had been rough his whole life, but in that moment, something shifted inside his chest. This wasn't a request he expected. This wasn't a moment he was prepared for. And yet, what happened next would prove that sometimes the biggest hearts belong to people society has forgotten. Understanding the characters and conflict. Marcus Johnson had been the president of the Iron Kings Motorcycle Club for 37 years. He started riding when he was 26 years old, back when people judged bikers harshly. The newspapers called them criminals. The police followed them everywhere. But Marcus and his brothers knew the truth about themselves. They were loyal. They looked out for each other. And most importantly, they had a code of honor that went deeper than most people could understand. Marcus had short gray hair and a full beard. His face was weathered like an old map, with lines that showed he'd lived a hard life. But his eyes were kind. There was gentleness in them. The kind you don't expect to see in a man who spent his whole life in a leather jacket. He had a daughter who was 41 years old now. He'd raised her as a single father after his wife left when their daughter was just 3. He understood what it meant to be a parent. He understood the fear that came with loving someone so much that you'd do anything to protect them. The boy's name was Tommy. He was 9 years old, with red curly hair and freckles across his nose. He looked like a kid who should have been happy. Instead, he looked like he was carrying the weight of the world on his small shoulders. Tommy's real father had died 5 years ago in a car accident. It was a tragedy that shattered his mother's world. 3 years ago, she married a man named Derek. Derek seemed nice at first. He brought flowers home. He said sweet things. He acted like he loved Tommy. But after about 6 months, things changed. Derek started drinking heavily. He would come home late and angry. He would yell at Tommy's mother for small things. A dish left in the sink, dinner that was 5 minutes late, the way she looked at him. Tommy would listen from his bedroom, his heart pounding, praying that things wouldn't get worse. Then, 1 year ago, Derek hit Tommy's mother for the first time. She fell against the kitchen counter. Tommy watched from the hallway, frozen in shock. When his mother looked up, her lip was bleeding. Derek apologized immediately. He said it would never happen again. He promised it was a one-time mistake. But it wasn't a one-time mistake. Over the next year, Derek's violence grew worse. He hit her more often. Sometimes Tommy would try to protect his mother, and Derek would push him away so hard that Tommy fell down the stairs. Once, Derek twisted Tommy's arm so badly that Tommy thought it might break. Another time, Derek locked Tommy in the basement for 6 hours because Tommy talked back to him at dinner. Tommy's mother finally gathered the courage to leave Derek. She packed a bag and drove to her sister's house in another state with Tommy. But Derek found them. He hired a private investigator. He showed up at his sister's house and threatened to take Tommy away from his mother and put him in the system if she didn't come back. Terrified of losing her son, Tommy's mother went back to Derek. That was 2 months ago. Then came the night that changed everything. Derek came home drunk and angrier than usual. He accused Tommy's mother of talking to another man at the grocery store. She denied it. He didn't believe her. He threw her across the living room. Her head hit the coffee table. She started bleeding. Tommy ran to the phone to call 911, but Derek unplugged it. He grabbed the boy by the collar and threw him across the room. Tommy hit his head on the wall, so hard that everything went black for a moment. When Tommy woke up, Derek was gone. He found his mother bleeding in the kitchen. He called an ambulance using his mother's cell phone. At the hospital, the doctors found multiple broken ribs, a fractured arm, and a serious concussion. This time, Tommy's mother was going to press charges. She told the police everything. But Derek hired a good lawyer. The lawyer said that without witnesses to most of the abuse, a conviction would be difficult. Derek got out on bail. That's when Derek started sending messages to Tommy's mother. He said he was going to win custody of Tommy. He said she would never see her son again. He said he was going to make sure Tommy paid for what she'd done to him. Tommy heard these messages. He knew his stepfather was planning something. He knew his mother was scared beyond words. So Tommy did the only thing a desperate 9-year-old could think of. He ran away to find help. The deep conflict and relatable problems. Tommy had been running for 2 days. He had taken money from a jar in his grandmother's room and bought a bus ticket. He got off at a highway rest stop near Cleveland, not knowing where to go or what to do. He was sitting on a bench outside the rest stop, crying silently when the motorcycles pulled in. Marcus and his brothers always stopped at this rest stop on their monthly rides. They'd been doing it for years. They liked the coffee there, and it was a good place to stretch their legs. Marcus was the first one to notice the boy. He saw Tommy sitting alone on the bench, his small frame shaking with sobs. Something about the sight disturbed Marcus. He'd seen a lot in his 63 years, but there was something about this child's despair that cut through his heart. "Hey, little man," Marcus said gently, approaching the bench. "You okay?" Tommy looked up at this giant of a man with the long beard and the black leather jacket. In his jacket, Tommy could see a patch that said Iron Kings. Tommy knew about motorcycle clubs. His grandmother had told him scary stories about them, but Marcus's eyes were kind, and Tommy was so desperate that he didn't care anymore about being afraid. "Are you a real biker?" Tommy asked. "I am, son. I'm Marcus." "What's your name?" "I'm Tommy," the boy said, "and I need help." The other 11 bikers had started to gather around, curious about why their president was talking to a child. They were rough-looking men with tattoos and scars and hard faces. But as they heard Tommy's story, something changed in all of them. Tommy told them everything. He told them about his stepfather's violence. He told them about his mother's broken bones and the fear in her eyes. He told them about the threats Derek had made. He told them how he had run away because he didn't know what else to do. As Tommy talked, the bikers exchanged looks with each other. This was a kind of injustice that made their blood boil. This was exactly the kind of situation that motivated the Iron Kings to exist. One of the bikers, a man named Derek, the same name as Tommy's stepfather, ironically, suggested something that made Marcus think carefully. "Let's go find this guy," Derek said. "Let's teach him a lesson he won't forget." But Marcus held up his hand. He had learned a lot in his 63 years about what real justice was and what fake justice was. "Hold on, brother," Marcus said. "Let me think about this." Marcus sat down next to Tommy on the bench. The other bikers sat down too, forming a circle around the boy. They looked intimidating, but their body language showed only protection and concern. "Tommy," Marcus said quietly, "I'm going to be honest with you. What you're asking us to do is against the law. If we hurt your stepfather, even though part of me wants to, we'd go to prison. And then who would help your mother? Who would be there for you?" Tommy's face crumbled, but he's going to hurt her more. He said he's going to take me away from her. He said he's going to make me suffer. "I know, son. I believe you. But there's another way to handle this. A better way." Over the next 2 hours, Marcus and his brothers made a plan. They weren't going to break the law, but they were going to use every resource they had to protect this boy and his mother. First, Marcus made a phone call to a lawyer he knew. This lawyer had helped several of the Iron Kings in the past, and they had helped the lawyer in return. Marcus explained the situation, the abuse, the threats, the custody battle. The lawyer listened carefully. "We need to get this into the court system properly," the lawyer said. "We need evidence, documentation, and witnesses." "We can get all of that," Marcus said. Then Marcus called his daughter. She was a social worker, and she knew people in the system who could help. Within an hour, She had connected Marcus with a domestic violence counselor who worked with families in crisis. The counselor's name was Janet, and she had 30 years of experience helping people escape abusive situations. She agreed to meet with Marcus immediately. "Here's what we're going to do," Janet explained. "We need to locate the mother and get her to safety. We need to document all of her injuries with photographs and medical records. We need to gather evidence of the threats Derek has made. Then we go to the court with a petition for a restraining order. If we can show a pattern of abuse and a direct threat to the child's safety, the judge will grant it. And if the judge doesn't," Marcus asked, "then we escalate to Child Protective Services. We file a report that puts the child in protective custody while we investigate. This removes Derek's leverage. He can't threaten to take the boy away if the state is already protecting the child." Marcus felt something shift inside him. This was how real justice worked. Not through violence or threats, but through systems designed to protect people. Through people who care enough to navigate those systems properly. "Okay," Marcus said. "What do we need to do first?" Janet outlined a plan. First, they needed to contact Tommy's mother and get her medical records from the hospital. Second, they needed to document all of Derek's threats, the text messages, the voicemails, everything. Third, they needed to find witnesses who had seen Derek's abusive behavior or heard about his threats. "And we need to do all of this carefully," Janet warned. "If Derek knows what we're doing, he might run. He might hide evidence. We need to move quietly." Marcus looked at Tommy, who was watching this conversation with growing hope. "Can I ask you something, Tommy?" Marcus said, "Is there anyone else who knows about your stepfather's abuse? Any friends of your mom? Any teachers at school? Any relatives?" Tommy thought hard. "My mom's sister," he said. "She knows. And my teacher, Mrs. Patterson. She asked my mom why she had a black eye once. Mom said she fell. But I think Mrs. Patterson didn't believe her. And there's a neighbor, Mrs. Chun. She called the police once because she heard my stepfather hitting my mom through the wall." "Perfect," Marcus said. "Those are our witnesses." Over the next 3 days, Marcus and his brothers worked with Janet and the lawyer to build a case. They visited Tommy's mother in the hospital and explained their plan to her. At first, she was terrified. She was afraid of Derek's reaction. She was afraid that trying to fight back would make things worse. But then she looked at Tommy, who was sitting quietly in the corner of the hospital room. She saw the bruises on his arms. She saw the fear in his eyes. And she made a decision. She was done being afraid. She was going to fight back. The lawyer filed the paperwork for a restraining order. As part of the filing, he presented all the evidence. The medical records showing the injuries, the text messages from Derek making threats, the statements from witnesses, and a detailed account from Tommy's mother about years of abuse. The judge read through everything carefully. When Derek's lawyer tried to argue that these were just minor family disputes, the judge stopped him. "I've reviewed the evidence," the judge said. "I see a pattern of escalating violence. I see a direct threat to the safety of a 9-year-old child. This court is granting a temporary restraining order immediately. This order will prohibit the defendant from approaching the plaintiff, the child, or their residence. Any violation will result in immediate arrest and jail time." Derek received the notice in the mail. For a moment, he considered violating it. He considered going to the house to convince Tommy's mother to drop the charges. But when he saw the Iron King's motorcycles parked outside his apartment building, he understood the message. These men weren't going to let him hurt this family. 2 weeks later, the temporary restraining order became permanent. Derek's lawyer advised him to accept this and move on. A custody case now seemed impossible. The court had established that Derek was a danger to the child. Derek packed his things and left town. Tommy's mother and Tommy were finally safe. The moment of justice and transformation. 3 months after that first meeting at the rest stop, Tommy's life looked completely different. He was back in school. He was getting better grades. He was sleeping through the night without nightmares. His mother was in therapy, healing from years of abuse. The bruises had faded, but more importantly, the fear was fading too. Marcus and the Iron Kings didn't just fade away after a restraining order was granted. They stayed involved. Marcus visited Tommy at school once a week. They would sit together at lunch, and Marcus would tell Tommy stories about his own life. He told Tommy about his struggles as a young man. He told Tommy about raising his daughter alone. He told Tommy about learning that real strength isn't about how hard you can hit someone. Real strength is about having the courage to do the right thing, even when it's hard. The other bikers started showing up too. One of them, a man named Robert, was a carpenter. He offered to help Tommy's mother fix up the house. He replaced a broken door that Derek had kicked in. He fixed the wall where Tommy had hit his head. He didn't ask for any payment. He just did it. Another biker, whose name was James, was a former accountant. He helped Tommy's mother get her finances in order. He showed her how to build her credit back up. He helped her understand her legal rights better. And Janet, the domestic violence counselor, kept checking in on the family. She helped Tommy's mother find a job that paid better than her previous job. She connected her with a support group for survivors of domestic abuse. She became a friend, not just a counselor. Tommy's school organized a presentation about domestic violence. They invited Marcus and one of the other bikers to speak. Marcus talked to the students about recognizing abuse and knowing where to get help. He talked about how tough-looking people can have soft hearts. He talked about how courage isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as picking up a phone and calling for help. After the presentation, a girl came up to Marcus with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "My dad hits my mom. I didn't know what to do. But after listening to you, I'm going to tell a teacher." Marcus hugged that girl, and he felt tears in his own eyes. This was why the Iron Kings existed. This was why they rode together. This was why they had a code of honor. The real victory came 6 months after that first meeting. Tommy's mother got a promotion at work. She and Tommy moved to a new house in a safer neighborhood. Tommy joined the school soccer team. He made friends. He laughed. He was a normal 9-year-old boy again. On the day they moved into the new house, all the Iron Kings showed up. They helped move boxes. They helped paint Tommy's bedroom. They brought food and drinks. They made Tommy feel like he was part of a bigger family, even though he didn't share their DNA. That night, Marcus sat with Tommy on the front porch of the new house. The sun was setting, and the sky was turning orange and purple. "Do you remember when you asked me to kill your stepdad?" Marcus said. Tommy looked down at his feet. He was ashamed of that moment now. He was only 9 years old, and he'd asked a stranger to commit a crime. "I know why you asked," Marcus continued. "You were desperate. You were trying to protect your mother the only way you thought you could. That took real courage, Tommy. That's not something to be ashamed of." "But I was wrong, wasn't I?" Tommy said quietly. "You were scared," Marcus said. "But being scared doesn't make you wrong about one thing. Your mother needed help, and you were smart enough to go find it. You went out into the world, and you found people who could actually help. That's wisdom, son. That's real strength." Tommy looked up at Marcus with fresh tears in his eyes. "Why did you help us? You didn't know us. We could have been making it all up." Marcus smiled. "Because when you're my age, you've learned that there are some things you just know are true. I looked at you, and I knew you weren't lying. I looked at your mother's injuries, and I knew she'd been hurt. And I looked at the legal system, and I knew there was a better way to help than the way you were asking for." "I'm glad you didn't do what I asked," Tommy said. "Me too," Marcus said. "Because if I had, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be your friend. And your mother would be even more broken. Real justice isn't about revenge, Tommy. It's about making things right so that the people we love are safe and happy." The lasting impact and life lesson. This story became known throughout Cleveland. The local newspaper ran a story about the Iron Kings helping a family escape abuse. At first, people were skeptical. Bikers helping people? It seemed too good to be true. But as more people learned the details, the story spread. Several other families who were suffering from domestic violence reached out to the Iron Kings. They asked for help, and the bikers, remembering Tommy and his mother, decided to formalize this work. They started a nonprofit organization called Iron Bonds, dedicated to helping families escape domestic violence. The organization used the same approach that had worked for Tommy's family. They connected victims with lawyers, social workers, and law enforcement. They helped document abuse. They helped navigate the court system. They provided practical help, home repairs, job training, financial assistance, to help families rebuild their lives. Marcus became the executive director of Iron Bonds, even though he was now 65 years old. His daughter helped him set up the nonprofit. Janet agreed to serve as a consultant. The lawyer who had helped Tommy's mother volunteered his services for all the cases that came through the organization. 2 years after that first meeting at the rest stop, Marcus received an award from the community. It was called the Neighborhood Heroes Award. But when Marcus accepted the award, he didn't talk about himself. He talked about Tommy. This young man, Marcus said, holding up a photo of Tommy, taught me something that I should have known all along. Sometimes the most powerful moments of change don't come from force or fear. They come from compassion. They come from people willing to step outside of their normal lives and do the hard work of helping someone else. We live in a world that teaches us to judge people by how they look, by what they do for a living, by stereotypes and assumptions. But real judgment should be based on what people do when they have the chance to make a difference. Marcus paused, looking out at the audience. That 9-year-old boy had the courage to ask for help. His mother had the courage to accept help and fight back. And my brothers and I had the opportunity to show that people who ride motorcycles and wear leather jackets can also have hearts full of love and compassion. If this story has taught me anything, it's that the stereotypes we carry about each other are often wrong. And when we're willing to let go of those stereotypes, we can do amazing things. Tommy was now in high school. He was a straight-A student. He was the captain of the soccer team. He wanted to become a social worker, inspired by Janet's work. Every Tuesday after school, he volunteered at the Iron Bonds office, helping other families fill out paperwork and understand their options. Tommy's mother had been promoted to manager at her job. She was thriving. She had started dating a kind man named Michael, a teacher who treated her with respect and kindness. And Tommy had grown into a young man who understood that real strength is about protecting those who can't protect themselves. The most important lesson from this story isn't complicated. It's actually quite simple. Respect is not about money or appearance or reputation. It's about character. It's about how you treat people when no one is watching. It's about the choices you make when you have the power to hurt someone, but you choose to help instead. Asterisk, asterisk. Marcus learned that this 9-year-old boy had more wisdom than many adults. Tommy's mother learned that asking for help isn't weakness, it's strength. And Tommy learned that sometimes the scariest-looking people have the gentlest hearts. In a world that often teaches us to judge people at first glance, this story reminds us to look deeper. It reminds us that compassion can come from unexpected places. It reminds us that one person's courage to ask for help can inspire dozens of people to make a difference. The Iron Kings Motorcycle Club had a reputation for being tough and dangerous. But what really defined them wasn't their leather jackets or their motorcycles. It was their willingness to use their strength in service of something greater than themselves. When Tommy asked Marcus, "Will you kill my stepdad?" he was asking in desperation. But what Marcus and his brothers gave him was something far more valuable than revenge. They gave him hope. They gave him justice. They gave him and his mother a second chance at life. And in doing so, they changed the lives of countless other families who would come to their doors seeking the same kind of help. Loudspeaker final call to action. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe to see more stories about real people doing extraordinary things. Stories about courage, justice, and the power of compassion to change lives. Comment below and tell us, have you ever been helped by someone when you needed it most? Or have you ever helped someone in a way that surprised you? We'd love to hear your stories. Asterisk, asterisk. The real moral of this story is simple. Don't judge a book by its cover. Judge people by the content of their character and the choices they make when it matters most. If every person in the world looked out for each other the way Marcus and the Iron Kings looked out for Tommy, we would live in a very different world. Asterisk, asterisk.